there are many. I can only talk about my experience and my observation, and people make of it what they will. My experience of so many of the people who talk about being spiritual and won't face things they don't want to face, they have convinced themselves they are enlightened beings, and they are working on themselves, and they are making themselves better people in accordance with what they say in their books and what they say on a stage. But the question is, are they? I'm not saying they are or they aren't, but it's a question worth asking. I mean, because by their actions you shall know them, not by their words. And when you are claiming to be enlightened and teaching others, you say, to be enlightened, then at the same time ignoring the great swathe of what's happening in the world and why it's happening, that don't strike me as terribly enlightened. You know, you look at people like Gandhi. They were action people. Look at people like Martin Luther King. They were action people. They expressed their spirituality and many others too in action. It was an expression of spirituality. It wasn't a self proclamation of spirituality. It was an expression of spirituality, and that's what changes anything. I mean, it's like knowledge. People say knowledge is power. No, it's not. The use of knowledge is power. Knowledge unused may as well be ignorance. And so I think people are see, when you're trying to uncover and point out and yourself try to understand what's happening in the world and why the world is as it is, you have many kind of challenges on many levels, but those challenges are part of your expression of spirituality. If you only want to, symbolically sit cross-legged on a mountain and be above it all, that's a choice. But it's not the only choice. And when you look at it through experience, it's not the choice that makes the biggest difference to people's lives. It's expressing that awareness that comes from, if you like, sitting cross-legged on a mountain, in making energetic, therefore, what we call physical change for the better.
And okay, would you be surprised that if the knowledge that the truth that you've downloaded, this truth that's come to you, call it channeled, downloaded, whatever, it just came to you, right, from your greater awareness, your higher self, your oversoul. Would you be surprised that if the nature of reality is even greater than what's been shown to you, that actually it's greater than any book that's out there, the nature of where we go to and what this is all about? It's no one's actually written about how the greatness of this reality. It's only been touched upon from a very low level. It's like being in the house and trying to get to the airport. We're still on the sofa. We haven't even got to the gas station yet. That's how expansive this is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've always worked on the, if you like, the philosophy that many people throughout history have articulated using slightly different words, be it Confucius, be it Socrates, and the basic theme is wisdom is knowing how little we know. If you ever, especially within the limitation of the body's focus of attention and within this distorted reality, if you ever think you know all there is to know or all you need to know, then you're kidding yourself. to keep your mind constantly open to other possibilities and all possibilities, you have to be aware that whatever you know or think you know is an infinitesimal fraction of what there is to know. And you know, this is why I see people, even in the alternative media, in fact, great swathes of it, who dismiss other possibilities by reflex action in the same way that the mainstream does. It's almost, you know, I used an analogy a long time ago of coming out of the womb with a backpack on and a tent on your back, and vast numbers of people pitch their tent after a few strides, and it's here and no further. Some people go a bit further, and the people who've got a bit further get ridiculed and dismissed by those who pitch their tent. People then keep moving beyond the second lot of people who've now pitched their tent further down the road, here and no further. And the people that go on beyond them are ridiculed, dismissed by those who pitch their tent at number 2 position. Then it goes on and on and on and on like this, and until you reach the people who refuse to carry a backpack at all, because they don't want a tent, because they know that if they pitch the tent anywhere, especially within this reality and with this life cycle, then they are deluding themselves that they've reached a point of knowledge in terms of its where they need, as far as they need to go. You know, we have this infinite awareness, and thus we have the potential to be more and more infinitely aware. And the more we do that, the more understanding and the greater perspective we have of the world and the reality we're experiencing. And so I will go on to the day I leave this reality, still walking, still knowing that whatever I know is a fraction of what there is to know. But unless you do that, you pitch your tent further back down the road, and from that perspective, you're never going to know so much of what there is to know that is possible to know within this reality. And it's that understanding which essentially, eventually, will get people to see this world and themselves from a different perspective. Phantom self sees itself in isolation from other phantom selves. Thus, it's the perfect environment for divide and rule, for conflict, for playing one off and one group of phantom selves with a group title, a label off against others. The way to stop doing that is to reach that point where we are aware that we are all each other. But it's okay, you know, having books published by Hay House, doing it in theory. But how about doing it practically in a world that desperately needs a reevaluation of its perception? If we are going to stop the direction the world is going in and going faster all the time.
Yes, and that's not with any judgment. That is, you're just saying that from the perspective of your truth, which is absolutely fine as well. Exactly. Absolutely fine.
You know, people must make their choices. It's ever so simple. Life is ever so simple. Choice and consequence. Choice and consequence. Choice and consequence. That's all it is, and in its basic form. And you make choices based on information available, and whether it comes from experience or comes from other sources. And so you make better choices when you have more information and more, therefore, perspective and context within which you're making that choice. And so people must make the choice. I'm not telling people they must make different choices. I'm talking about choice and consequence, choice and consequence. And from my perspective, is that if we go on making the choices that we have been making up to this point, then the world is going to be a deeply unpleasant place in the not too distant future. For many already, for vast numbers already, it already is. But I'm talking a point where even the ability to free think will be denied by technology and other things. So, you know, people must look at my information if they choose to, and then make a choice on what they do based on that information and what they make of it. It's just simple: choice and consequence, choice and consequence, and then eventually we leave this reality and go on making choices and taking consequences for all eternity.